Question from John. He says, what are the biggest flaws in the Muslim concept of God?
Well, and I point this out in debates that Christians and Jews and Muslims have a lot in common in our concept of God, and that's because they are connected to each other, right? Right. Muhammad, in developing his theology, he knew Jews and he knew Christians, right? And so we expect some similarities there, right? So as far as being a creator, being all powerful, knowing everything, those are important. Similarities between the Christian concept of God and the Islamic concept of God. As far as problems with it, Muslims wouldn't regard this as a problem, but when you have a fully developed Trinitarian theology, you understand how the doctrine of the Trinity relates to almost everything else, right? Almost everything else. Yeah. You start seeing non-Trinitarian concepts of God as problematic. Right. So from a Christian perspective, that would be a problem. Right. That it certainly doesn't account for the biblical revelations about God. Muslims don't view God as a heavenly Father. That view is condemned, and consequently, they don't view themselves as children of God. Right? According to the Quran, the highest relationship that you can have with Allah is a slave to master relationship. So there's a sense in which we're servants of God, we're slaves of God, but there's also a sense in which we're children of God. Right. And biblically, we're all children of God. In Him we live. In Him we live and move and have our being. There's a sense in which we're all children of God, and then Christians are children of God in a special sense, right? We've entered into a relationship with our Heavenly Father. Right. So that's all part of our view of God as our Heavenly Father. Right. Muslims don't have that, and so the only thing you have is this slave to master relationship. And you think about that, right? If a master is going to love his slave, the slave has to be really good and do all these kinds of things to make his master love him, right? The master doesn't just automatically love the slave. The slave's just property. Right. The slave has to do some special, wonderful things for the master to say, I really love that slave, right? Right. When you're a child, you're a child of someone. You just automatically love your child. The father automatically loves his child. So that's a flaw in their in their concept of God, and related to that is their idea that God only loves basically good Muslims, right? And you have to love Allah first before He loves you. In Christianity, we love God because He first loved us, right? He started this. In Islam, you love Allah first, and then He'll love you. And that's connected to that view of we have to please Him first as slaves, and then He'll love us. Not He already loves us because we're His children. So those are some of the problems. Now, those are like official Islamic views. There are other things you can point to where you can actually challenge the Islamic concept of God in different ways. Like you could say, well, if Allah affirms scriptures that contradict His message, is He really all-knowing? So you could attack it in that way, but a Muslim is still going to say that God is all that God's all-knowing, right? But you could start questioning whether those doctrines are actually true. But as far as what Muslims actually affirm about God, I would have some problems with those.